My co-founder and I fought fraud at eBay and PayPal for years. We deeply understand the challenges your fraud teams face every day. At past Finovates, you saw how our forensics product uses behavior analytics to detect threats like Zeus and man in the browser. And our mitigation product can divert those threats in real time. But as we've been installing at some of the biggest banks and brokerages, we've noticed something interesting. You have a problem that's costing tens of millions of dollars a year. The problem is you're using partners for functionality like bill pay. Using partners in this way creates a lack of visibility and a loss of control of how your customers are interacting with your banking services. This significantly hinders your fraud teams. Let's take a look. We've created a banking website so that we can run attacks against it. Aunt Sally's going to sign into the banking website and pay a bill online. She goes to bill pay. She figures out the amount of her bill. And there you go. That looked very innocent. But there was something happening in the background. There's a virus on Aunt Sally's computer. And this virus is devious. It watches for Aunt Sally to sign into her banking website and immediately grabs her user ID and password and sends it to a computer in Siberia. This computer is owned by a criminal. And the criminal has put a program on the computer that when it receives a user ID and password, it immediately logs into the banking website as that user. So let's put on our fraud analyst hats and figure out what the criminal is doing in Aunt Sally's account. Luckily, SilverTail Forensics was monitoring all of the traffic on the website. The fraud analyst has a view through forensics of exactly what's happening in Aunt Sally's session. Here you can see where Aunt Sally logged in. Her IP address starts with 24.196, and that's in South Carolina. Immediately afterwards, the criminal's computer also logs into her account. It has an IP address that starts 86.105, and that's in Siberia. So as a fraud analyst, we want to see exactly what Aunt Sally and the criminal did in the account. You can see that both the criminal and Aunt Sally went to the bill pay overview page. And after that, they kind of disappear. You saw Aunt Sally pay a bill. It's very likely the criminal did something in the account, and yet we have no visibility into what happened. Why is that? To look into this more, let's go back to our website. Like most of you, our banking website uses a partner for bill pay. You may have noticed there's parts of this website that are yellow. It's these parts that are hosted by our partner. So what happens is any action that happens in these yellow sections goes directly to our partner's web server, completely bypassing the web server of our bank. Your fraud analysts have no visibility into what's happening in these parts of the website that are hosted by your partners. And to add insult to injury, your banks are completely liable for any fraud that happens on your partners. This is an impossible situation for your fraud teams. But that's where SilverTail comes in. We have a new solution, Junction Master, that completely solves this. We give your bank and your fraud teams instant visibility and complete control over all of the interactions between your customers and your banking services, even those hosted by your partners. How does this work? Instead of directing this traffic directly to the partners, Junction Master directs the traffic to your bank's web servers before forwarding on to the partners. This has no impact on the user experience and no impact on the partner functionality. As you can imagine, I have another version of the website that has Junction Master deployed. Let's take a look at the last example and see how it changes with Junction Master in place. Again, Aunt Sally is going to sign into her account. She's going to go to bill pay, and she's going to pay a bill. All of that was exactly the same, no change to her user experience, no change to the partner functionality. But let's put on our fraud analyst hats again and take a look at her session through forensics. She logged me out. We saw before the login, so let's skip down to this section that's in pink. SilverTail Forensics marks transactions in pink that it sees as suspicious. And what you can see here is the criminal's computer went to bill pay overview, added a new bill pay recipient, and paid a bill to that recipient. In fact, with Junction Master, as a fraud analyst, we can see the details around these transactions. And you can see here that the criminal added Bad Guys Are Us as the bill pay recipient and paid $199 to that bill pay recipient. This is the criminal stealing money from Aunt Sally's account. We had no visibility into that before, and now we can see it. This is so cool. But now that we can see it, what can we do about it? With Junction Master and SilverTail Mitigation, the fraud analyst can stop the criminal from adding a bill pay recipient of Bad Guys Are Us. The fraud analyst deploys this rule that will redirect someone to customer support if they try to add Bad Guys Are Us as the bill pay recipient. So once that rule is deployed, let's take a look at the criminal's user experience. You can tell this is the criminal's browser because it has this ominous black border. The criminal receives the user ID and password from the virus, uses that to sign into Aunt Sally's account, goes to bill pay, goes to add a new bill pay recipient, Bad Guys Are Us, and there we go. The criminal is stopped from adding Bad Guys Are Us as a bill pay recipient and stopped from stealing money from Aunt Sally's account. Seeing the bad behavior when we were looking just in forensics, now that was cool. But being able to stop it in real time, that's phenomenal. In summary, the combination of forensics, mitigation, and Junction Master gives your bank and your fraud teams instant visibility and complete control over all of the interactions your customers have with your website, even those on third parties. Please come see us to hear more about this. Thank you.